Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, Peter, how are you this morning?
I'm good.
Hey.
Good morning, Naomi.
Good morning.
So, are you the rookie this morning?
I can be a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'm comfortable being a rookie. I'm more of a know-it-all.
You're
Whether I'm a rookie or not, I'm just a know-it-all.
You're a know-it-all.
I
Just what I need. Another woman in my life that knows it all.
law of attraction, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You become what you resist. That's what I was thinking. Episode number 96, Peter. 96. So, we have not spoken. I know that I was in my office. I was writing an email, and I was kind of like in my little world over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have spoken a couple times about the renovations we got going on. But I have not told you this. I'm going to make the announcement publicly.
Bill style.
Bill style, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally, utterly, absolutely expect on our 100th birthday, which is 4 shows away, which is about a month from now, that you will give to me a new intro for our show.
Oh, okay. I had no idea where he's going with this.
Here's what I decided. I decided this in my own little, Bill's planet, you know what I mean? Here's what I decided. I want you to rock out with your guitar. I don't want anybody else. I just want you to rock out.
Melt the walls?
Yes.
I'll
like
melt the
total, not like metal music.
No,
I want like Led Zeppelin type or
rockin'.
what is the other one? Oh my God, I just went Leonard Skinner. Yeah, or Pink Floyd. You know that because I'm old. You know I like that kind of music.
Yeah, but I got way too much energy for Pink Floyd.
Okay, well I just want it to be
Wow.
like total.
No, they're really subdued. They're
total
nice, but they're
rock.
subdued. Okay.
I was thinking about it, even thinking that maybe Naomi could sing, but
no, scream.
But no.
Yeah.
I think
Can you do
I only
wow?
want it to be like for a minute and a half. I don't want it to be very long. But I just want complete, utter, just unusual, all over the top, over the ramparts, Pica-Cola in his recording studio, rocking out for a minute and a half.
Woohoo.
That's what I want for my 100th birthday.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
do you want it for your 100th birthday?
I've already given it to him 100 shows.
I was thinking lobster in the Bahamas.
That's okay.
How about,
You don't have to have 100 shows to do that.
Do that anytime.
Okay, so we clear?
Yeah,
Do we have an agreement?
sure.
Perfect.
That's in 1 month.
Well, we're on show number 96, so we have to do 97, 98, 99, so about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Last time he did it in about 3 days. He pulled one of his buddies together and the intro that we have now, but it's got to be short. I don't want to cut it like minute and a half, and then then there has to be an exit, which has to be completely different, or actually the same, but not the same piece. I want it to be like different, so you know that it's the entrance and the exit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, let me know how long you really want it, though, so we don't have to fiddle with the cutting and then all that stuff.
Yeah, Emma will tell you. I think a minute and a half, but we'll figure it out before you leave here today.
Okay.
Pure electric guitar, like hair standing, like we know Pete's here. Okay?
Okay.
All right, perfect. So we should go back to business now.
We should.
Episode number 96. How bad a beating are you willing to take to make a deal?
Wow.
Okay? How bad a beating are you willing to take to make a deal? And the description I wrote, which we didn't put in Facebook because I'm writing stories, it'll actually be on the podcast when you download it on iTunes or wherever you download it, is, here we go. Is it possible to get a check in days and not years? Do you sometimes feel you are on the outside looking in when it comes to knowing how to convert houses into fast, reliable cash? Best part is you can decide whether you choose the easy way or the hard way. And realize this, If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. That's a Ron LeGrand statement. In this podcast, we will get you over the hump, then do some actual deal structuring to give you real examples of how quick you can make profits.
Ooh.
Cool.
Do I need to read it again, or are we good?
No, we're good.
No, I want to hear
Plus,
it.
it's printed on the
No, it's not on
description. No.
the... Oh, well, it will be in the podcast, but not on Facebook.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to start?
I already
We're
started
listening.
talking.
We're listening.
I'm going to get some...
I already
water
started
first.
talking. So how willing are you to take a beating to get a deal? I think it depends on the individual. For example,
To make a deal, because
To make a deal?
Yeah. Emma said it should be to get a deal, and I'm like, no, that's just advertising, getting deals. Deal hunting's easy.
right? But to
I'm talking
make a
about
deal,
make a deal. What is make a deal?
making a deal is where you're hoping that everybody is benefiting. I mean, just you could benefit, I suppose.
So let me
But-
just pull a bill here, okay? Here we go. You could I was going to say you can have sex or you can make a baby.
Yes,
There's a difference.
there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
right?
Yes.
So that's what this is like. I mean, you can flirt with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go to all the different real estate groups and all these other things, which shocks the hell out of me. I mean, out of everything that I do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually consistently, like almost every day lately, utterly and completely perplexed at how I run into people, or people buy my coaching or buy my
Mhm.
courses and just don't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think everybody in my position goes through that.
Yes, they do.
You know, I mean, I guess I've been lately paying attention to my conversations
Mm-hmm.
and wondering, like this morning, Emma and I were talking about something about, with my wife and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I assumed right away that we were in a doctor's office and she didn't understand something.
Right.
So Emma suggested that I record it. She said because maybe she was in. I just assumed that I had it correct, and she was 100%.
You know what they say
she
about
was 100% right.
The word assume.
Yeah. I mean,
Makes
maybe I
an
don't have it
ass
correct.
Well,
Maybe it
out
is
of
me.
me and you.
I suggested that he record the conversation because it's a doctor's appointment. Doctors say a lot of things to you in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, maybe it's so I could catch my wife on something. And I'm like, what if she catches you on something?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, because the last time we left the doctor's office, she had a completely different idea of what I felt like he said, but it could just be me. So the point is that I've been paying attention to, like, what is it that I'm doing that I don't know that I'm doing? Because we all do it,
Right.
right? What do I think I know that I don't know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, the first thing, one can't be wrong.
Right.
Your survival depends on being right. You
Yeah.
can't be wrong. Even if you are, you just can't do it.
Right.
So it's not easy.
Haven't you ever heard of the thing failing forward?
Yeah, sure. That's somebody writing in a book. I'm talking
That-
about real life here.
That's analytical. Most people don't make decisions and do things analytical. It's a little bit more reactive.
Ready, fire, aim.
Yeah. it's
Come
a
on,
great book.
guys.
It's a great
I
book.
live by this.
It's a great book.
Clearly.
And why they write that? Because everybody's fighting something that keeps them from doing that. They're fighting.
Yeah.
All that other stuff that happens,
Yeah. No, it's been
more or less.
heavy on my mind where people, they have an idea that they want to move forward and they don't. And why? Because they're comfortable. They're comfortable. Even though what they have right now is uncomfortable, at least it's the known. And to take that step into the unknown, to go and make a deal. It's,
So I think I have it figured out. I really do. Well, at least I have a concept.
let's
So
hear
let's
the
talk about
concept.
that. Because I think you're right. It's a concept. It's a scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a scale. So you start off, I wrote it this morning, you start off with ignorance. You just don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And then the next level up is awareness. You have to get aware. First of all, you got to be aware that you
Mhm.
don't know, and you got to get aware about whatever you're doing,
Right.
right?
Is that like looking?
Yeah, we'll go through each one of them separately, but yeah. And then the next one is implementation, and the next one is delegation. And technically, this is what I went through to get where I am right now. So you
Yeah.
start off, so let's just talk, I mean, we're talking about ignorance. We just happen to fall into it, but we're talking about ignorance. What is ignorance,
Not knowing.
right? I think it's a little bit more than that.
Oh, I'm sure. I know it's more than that, but
Okay.
just like a
But you are
short,
right. You're
succinct
not knowing.
version. I mean, and then there's a whole other thing of choosing to not know. The knowledge is out there. Are you actually attaining the knowledge? Are you just sitting back and watching TV?
But I
every
think
Hey, don't
ig-
confuse me with facts.
I think ignorance is not, it's not knowing. It's not knowing and don't know you don't know,
Yeah.
isn't it? Or is it
Well,
just
you
not
would-
knowing?
I
you
think
wouldn't-
that's a
Not
deeper-
knowing, you wouldn't know.
Not knowing is just
Ig,
like.
it means not. No, nor. Yeah, it's not no.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it's just not knowing? Let's look it up.
Yeah,
Look
but
it
that
up
would
now.
include not realizing you don't know. Because if you don't know, you don't know.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's probably a level of like I don't know about that, but you know, you can have that cut like there's I don't know and I don't care. There's I don't know and I
Exactly.
don't think there's an answer. I love when people tell me, "Oh, there's no, you can't do that. You can't. Nobody knows." Like, well, wait a minute. Did you ask
Mhm.
everybody? Just because you don't know doesn't mean somebody doesn't have an answer someplace. So I am very big personally on finding answers, looking
Mhm.
for them,
Yeah.
finding Bill,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we hunt
Finding
around-
deals.
No, finding Bill, then finding deals.
All right, so the
finding-
dictionary said, oh boy. The dictionary says ignorance is a state or quality of being ignorant. And then the word ignorant it's actually 3 definitions. One is lack in knowing or education, which is what you guys were saying.
Mhm.
The second one is uninformed or unaware.
Not knowing.
I think that's the one I was thinking of. And then the third one is resulting from showing lack of knowledge or education. And then the derivation is Latin ignoranus, and it's not to know.
Not knowing.
So when somebody calls you an ignoramus, at least they're using
Yeah.
Latin.
Exactly.
Sort of a
That's a
sophisticated way.
That's the fancy way of saying dumbass, Bill.
Yeah, that's me. Good old Red from the 70s show. I watched him again the other day. I never get tired of hearing putting my foot up my ass. I'm going to put my and he's got so many ways to say it. How he can put his foot up somebody's ass. Funny thing is his feet never come off the ground. He just talks about it all the time.
His bark is worse than his
Yeah.
bite.
He's got-
Which is just kind of like this show. You know,
Right.
bark being worse than the bite. Are you going to actually bite?
She's talking about me right now. Which is fine. So, ignorance. So what happens? Somebody says, I want to flip houses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, the word flip houses is a whole thing right there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because what does flip houses mean?
Making a profit from, you know, now that's a much more complex thing
That's a whole show.
than
huh?
not
Look,
knowing, than
She just got
uninformed.
somebody just flipped the switch. She just livened up.
I
You see her?
mean-
She sat right up and the hands are going and
I mean,
everything.
there's 8 different ways to flip a house.
So what does flipping houses mean then?
Flipping houses means controlling property to make a profit.
That's perfect. I was thinking what I put here in the description is when it comes to knowing how to convert houses into fast cash. That's flipping houses, converting a
Yeah.
house, and it doesn't have to be a house, converting real estate into
Yeah.
fast cash.
Yeah.
Because this is probably 5 shows in my head. But the
We're
money's in the money,
Yeah.
not in the real estate.
And we're going to try and break it all down into one show just for you all.
The money's in the money, not in the real estate. All the real estate is a way to make the money. And what I mean by that, in fact, I was with my accountant yesterday, and we were talking about this because he wants to get in, and he's got some money. And I told him he's better off to loan money than get in. But he's like, in the summertime, with accounting, because he's an accountant, they make all their money in tax season, right? He's like, yeah, I play golf and I kind of hang around at the pool, and I was thinking this year I would flip a house. And I'm like, which is kind of what gave me the idea of this show this morning,
Oh, really?
because I'm like, So what is he? I'm sitting there in his office. You know, we're doing stuff, and there's files and paperwork and everything all over the place. And I'm sitting there looking at him, thinking, so what does he really want? Does he want the glory of saying, "Yeah, I flipped this house, made 20 grand"? Or does he actually truly want to flip the house? What does he really want?
Mm-hmm.
And I really think about that, because especially when we're out doing seminars and we're doing stuff, you know, people come up and they tell me their stories after I do whatever, right? And they fade off. I mean, just take a look at our meetup. I mean, our meetup pulls in what, 25 people a month?
Mm-hmm.
How many of them return?
Sure.
They tell me these stories, they tell me what they're going to do, and some of them stick, but what percentage?
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that's true for just about anything that people seem to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Whether it's bowling
anything,
league, music lessons. I'm going to be a piano
Right.
player. I'm going to be an actress.
anything in life, from fitness to eating well, anything that requires self-improvement.
So thus is the word ignorance, because it's like they're ignorant to what's even involved to do whatever, play the piano, sing, buy a house.
I have to disagree with you. I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's the first word that comes to my mind is perhaps laziness, or perhaps it's just not the right fit for them and they're trying to find the right fit for them, or it could be a combination of the two.
You think so?
Because if they know, because there they are getting information at a meetup, or like Pete was saying, anything in life for self-improvement, whatever that is, the information is out there. And say they even go to a seminar, like they go to your seminar,
Yep.
they find out how they can make cash, and then they do nothing. Now, one thing I could possibly argue against myself, which I don't usually like to argue against myself, but
Do it. Do it.
But if they had actually gone through the experience, like lived through the experience of flipping a house, and then had to like actually like taste that cash, I think it would have been a different story. But they haven't lived through that experience.
Okay.
So it's a different type
you
of
saw
knowing.
me pick up the dictionary and look for a word, because I'm going to take everything you just said and put it in one word. Are you ready?
Go.
Seriously, I'm not even joking around, because I've thought about this a lot.
No, I believe you. What's the word?
Dilettante.
What a word.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So here we go. It says, one who pursues an art or science superficially or merely for amusement, a dabbler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
In every industry, man, Bill.
But, if you're going to do something, do it. Do it. Really do it.
Yeah.
Learn about
what are
it.
you wasting your time?
So
Get in
I've
there.
noticed as we, because obviously Pete and I have been together since we first started. Dabbler is a great word, because they're in love with the concept of the lifestyle that they think they understand, until they start doing it and they realize that the lifestyle is not as glorious. Let me give you an example. An actress wants to be an actress. Like say Emma said to me, "Dad, I'm going to be an actress."
Right.
And then she moves to L.A.
Right.
because she's going to become an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen all those movies, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even know the names of them, but we've seen those movies. And those movies are where they go out there and she ends up being a waitress or a prostitute or whatever they do out there.
Both derogatory
In
things.
LA.
What about Superwoman?
Huh? No, I'm just saying that's we've seen those stories, those
Yeah.
movies. That's what I'm saying. Where they end up,
Oh, I see. I see
know
what
what I
you're
mean?
saying. Sorry. I
So
yeah.
so they end up out there thinking that they're going to live this luxurious, they're just going to go out there and
Right.
their
And-
talent is going to be so absorbing that people will just take them in and give them
Right.
the golden
When
handshake.
really it takes blood, sweat, and tears to
Right.
break in.
And it's very and to me that's when we talk about ignorance, it's more about that than it is the actual ignorance of the business, because I mean, we have things like A&E that just I mean,
20 minutes, you're flipping a house.
yeah. I mean, Peter and Jesse did that show, and I talk about this at the seminars, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were there for 8 days or 7 days, and 7 days
Filming.
and 8 hours a day, and left with 2.5 or 3 hours worth of film every day, footage every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 7 times 3. That's 21 hours,
Yeah.
or 20 or 21 hours worth of film to make a 19-minute show.
Yeah.
So there's Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me started on that, but Hollywood, I think, is ruining Hollywood's just, yeah.
Glamorizing the flipping industry that is.
Well, think about this. Our kids nowadays, especially the millennials, and I know I
Mhm.
get in trouble for saying this, but people that want to have, why are they millennials?
Yeah. I'm a millennial. Did you know?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about you then. I didn't know that. She says, she admitted it
I am.
in public. But honestly, think about it. One thing that we know about millennials, there's actually, I mean, I joke about it, but I feel like recently in the last 6 months or so, I've really they have a lot to offer. They have a lot of cool shit. I mean, we have a couple of them in our coaching client and coaching group,
Mm-hmm.
and they are amazing. I mean, they find stuff and figure shit out that it's just amazing. But it's out of effort. They don't like things to take a long time,
Right. Right.
and that's you ask somebody what's a millennial. Well, they want everything quickly,
Yeah.
right? Well, whose fault is that? It's our fault for letting them watch TV because that's what Hollywood has taught them.
No, I think it's Henry
I think it's
Ford.
deeper than that.
Henry Ford. Here
I
we
think
go.
not only that, Bill, it's technology. It's technology. Now with autoresponders and that's like only scratching the surface. You make a purchase, anything you do, it's like boom.
Want to hear the
Bless you.
epitome?
What's the
My-
epitome?
at my son's
What's
house.
the epitome?
At my son's house. This is no bull. When you go into the bathroom, if you're running out of toilet paper, there's a button on the shelf. You push the button, and a box arrives in 3 days. Toilet paper. That's all you have to do. It's all automatic. One day, what does this do? Ding! Dad, what'd you do? Did you push the button? I got in trouble. Come on, I have to unpush it now.
I'm going to Pete's house. I'm going to Pete's house.
Funny. No, his son's
Naomi,
Pete's son's house. For the toilet paper, that's going to
we
draw
need
you
to
to
go
it.
there and use the bathroom. And you push the button. I'll push the button. He can push the button. We'll get cases of toilet paper.
They're
I
That's
mean,
the
it's,
epitome.
it's much simpler than
Emma
that.
knows
Like
about this.
Amazon, has auto
Yeah,
like,
fulfillment.
auto fulfillment, so you just set it all up ahead of time.
They're called dash buttons. They're for pretty much all the major brands, for Tide, for Bounty, for
Everything.
whatever.
You don't have to go shopping anymore. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
thing.
it's a little. It's the size of 2 quarters, and the
Mhm.
button itself is like the size of a quarter. And if you
Mhm.
need something, you click it, and it just automatically makes the Amazon purchase for you.
yes.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
Bill, I just want to know how
Hey,
bad it is.
So I like this idea. So where's my button to buy a house?
That's
Where do
right.
I go to
It's the
push a
Home-
button?
It's the Home Depot app.
Yeah,
Well,
I go
I'm-
in there all the time and tease the girl all the time. It's like, is this Home Depot? She's like, yeah. The girl that I deal with. And I'm like, okay, where do I buy the house? She goes, Bill.
The best you can get is a shed.
Yeah,
Sheds.
that's it.
What if we get 10 sheds and pile them up?
Yeah.
Right.
A skyscraper shed.
All right. So ignorance, we think we've covered that, right?
Yes.
So it's like, okay, so I think it's just it's the difference between being a pro and being a dilettante, and the difference is passion, or at least doing your homework and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So what Naomi's saying is that they come to the meetup and they're trying to figure that out. I don't think it's that extensive. I think they just had the concept of A&E. I flipped this house. I made $42,000, and they want to do that.
Right, but the other thing I also said is it could be laziness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a combination. It depends on the
Well-
person. They might not even know if it's for them or not for them, and they're just sort of fascinated with it, almost like people going to an art show.
Right.
You
Hey,
know?
hey, if it's easy, I'll do it.
Right. If
Right.
it's easy, and then they get there and they're
It's
like,
easy enough.
Oh.
let's do it, yeah.
there's a little more to this than I thought.
Right.
Well, my
I don't.
my take on it is to do something that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to look into the future
Mm-hmm.
and predict things and estimate things and line things up and actually look at the future. Now, who can do that? Honestly, a lot of people just get through the day. They don't look, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know.
Right.
We may be going away the weekend. But really, you
Right.
have to be able to be a strong enough person to look at your future.
Yeah.
What do you want in the future? And what do I have to do to get there? What does it
Mhm.
take? What do I have to learn? How many steps does it take? And be willing to pound that out.
Yeah, you
Not
take
everybody-
control
not
of the
ev-
future. The future will take control
Yeah.
of you, you know, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good. Let's talk about awareness. What is that? Silence. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, awareness. Well, it would be ability to perceive yourself in your environment.
It's the ability to perceive that you have a deal staring you in the face.
I find that funny. Talk about that. What does that mean, Naomi? Here we go.
You started it.
I did
I was
start
being
it. I'll
generic.
finish it.
I was being generic.
You can't be generic, Pete. What have we been talking about?
Well, I was going from the macro to the micro.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Anyway,
the macro. You do
so-
the micro.
So a deal staring in your face. When you are not aware or not prepared mentally, you can have something right in front of you and not see it. There's a lot of examples of that. I could go into great depth and great detail, but Bill already has a dictionary open, and it
Says
looks like
being conscious.
being conscious.
That's enough for me.
So you need knowledge first of all to be aware, but you have to choose to absorb that knowledge.
Says in possession of information, cognizant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then it says the synonyms are aware, conscious, and cognizant. So aware is stresses knowing through the senses, or sometimes by receiving information from someone else. So to me, awareness is kind of like perceiving.
Right.
It's communication that's done from a sentient being, that they just feel things. They're aware.
Yes.
Like, you don't need to think. Did you know that? Thinking is overrated. In my
Thinking is
head,
the most
thinking's
difficult thing to
overrated.
do.
Yeah, because what you store in your mind is usually past painful experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You can recall a pleasure moment, but you don't store those. So what happens is if I had a bad experience with too many dates with women,
Now you're talking about me.
right?
Is that with men?
Yes, dear.
I wasn't doing that, but if you want to talk about that, that's fine. But if you have too many bad experiences with dates, then when I finally find a guy and I start thinking about, do I like this guy?
Mm-hmm.
What am I using for information? All the bad experiences from the dates that I had before. So why would I want to think about that? So personally, I think you could just pervade something and get enough information and just make a decision.
Right.
You don't have to think. That's my person. It's a kind of a profound thing there, but I think pure observation is a hard thing to do.
Right.
I think that a lot of, including my mind, a lot of minds are invaded with environmental screw-ups or problems that it's very hard to see through that.
Right.
I mean, I think I joke about this all the time, but I wrote an email not too long ago, and we talked about it on the show about the real estate industry being the mafia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Right? Because the realtor brings the buyer, the banker brings the money, the lawyer brings the paperwork, all that kind of stuff, and they all work for one another. You go to a realtor and say, I want to look at a house, and she says, or he says, go to the banker and get a proof of funds.
Right. The good old boys.
You go to get a proof of funds to the banker first. I want to buy a house. They say, well, go to the realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start get going, and then they're like, well, get a lawyer.
Right.
My friend, hey, call Guido. He'll take care of you. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, but the point is how many people have observed that? I mean, it happens every single day, and people think that they're hiring a realtor to be their consultant on their real estate transaction, and the realtor is not trained how to do that, and is a complete, it's a camouflage hole.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know you're walking into the trap. You're walking down, the path in the jungle of called life, and all of a sudden you're in the trap.
Right.
And you're dealing with probably the biggest asset that you have in your life.
Right.
And you don't even know that you're in the trap, and they're all feeding off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And don't even know that you're doing that. So to me, that's awareness.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Peter? I know you have a definition.
No, that's pretty much the way I look at it too, because I'm still learning and have a lot to learn. I can't rely on experience because I don't have it. The best I can do is look and observe as much as I possibly can, And I like to think of pervading, like you're saying, just like really try to get into the situation, the house, and just see what you see and try to make the best decision, because I can't draw on a ton of experience. I can draw on what I've learned from you, what I've read, but there I am, and there you are. There are houses, and I got to make a decision.
So
Right. And so I think that this type of scenario plays into, back to the title, or back to what we were talking about at the beginning, in making money in a few days or in a few months, because there's so much involved.
So
that it ends up being a few
let's
months.
embellish on that for 1 second. Let's just divert for 1 second, because we're going to do this pretty soon. So the concept that you have to buy an ugly house, fix it up, and sell it to make a lot of money
Right.
is exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's what most people are aware of when they hear
Flipping.
No, not even flipping. Definitely flipping.
Right.
But I'm talking about, I want to be a real estate investor.
Right.
So it's buy low, fix it,
Oh, yeah.
sell high.
Well, what
and
do
I
people say-
can't
what
tell
do
you.
people say on the phone to us.
Right.
Oh, look, I don't want to. Buy low, sell high. No thanks.
And the
I
the
didn't
most
say anything yet.
common mistake that people make, most common mistake, and I hear this and I'm like, and I chuckle to myself every time I hear this: buy the ugliest house in the prettiest neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like that's the investor secret,
Wow.
Right?
Nobody can see that one.
right? My theory is buy the prettiest house in the prettiest neighborhood with the problem in it. That nobody can see. People can't see the divorce. They can't see the husband and wife that are arguing because his dad died, and they have this house that his dad left him that he lived in for 50 years, and he's there every single weekend cleaning the house, and she wants him to be doing stuff for her.
Or maybe with her.
That too. The point is that he has a problem. It's called a house. You don't see that when you're driving down the road.
Right.
No, you never think if a house is a problem. You think it's an asset, but for some people, it's a problem.
It's a
You
liability.
have to get that. I've seen it too many times. Like, oh, please take my house and
Right.
take over my mortgage or anything. Please get this off my hands.
So when we're house hunting, going back to what we said earlier,
Yeah.
what are we doing? We're not house hunting. We're problem hunting. What's the definition of a prospect? The latest definition of a prospect is someone that is willing to receive help because they have a problem with a house. And now that problem may be that, like I said, that the house is in the way of their lifestyle, like a probate deal. That's a perfect example. Or maybe it's just debt relief. Maybe it's two divorced people that have been divorced and have been happy, and all of a sudden they met by accident, because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're spending all their time at one person's house or the other's house. They don't need to sell the house because they both have careers, and they kept the house. Suppose that happened to Naomi and I, right? And she's got a house and I got a house, right? And we're spending all our time in my house, but she has her house, but she's got her own career and her own life. And at first she's like, well, I'll keep the house just in case things don't go well with me. Maybe he doesn't turn out to be the right one, and I'll keep the house. But then it goes on and on and on, and then the next thing you know, she's like, yeah, it's kind of stupid that I'm paying all that mortgage and all those bills because I never go over there. We're always over here. So you start talking about, well, let's see what we can do. So now you're trying to be smart about what to do with the asset.
I just got a brilliant idea. Contact all the dating sites
Oh boy.
and then start putting ads out on the dating sites.
There you go.
Got an extra house?
Got an extra house?
Got an extra house kicking around?
Just kind of plant that seed in earlier. I'm trying to figure out how maybe I could get a hold of them after the dating site. I'm not sure though.
Oh.
I don't know. Figure it out.
But there's where you really have to perceive and be aware.
Right.
Because you're talking to a person and you're not buying the house. You're buying their problem.
Exactly.
And you have to find out what it is, and even more than that, what they really want instead of the problem.
So let's kind of clear this up a little bit and then move on, because I don't want to drone on about this, but Naomi's word, drone on about this. I love that word. Anyway, so my point is, thank you for that.
What was the word?
I'm a
Drone.
millennial. I don't
Droning
like.
on?
Yeah,
Droning on?
yeah.
I'm
Anyways.
a millennial.
I don't think
like
that's a
things-
word.
So anyways,
Droning.
It's a word now.
I lost my train of thought. Son of a bitch.
So not to be droning on about finding houses,
Oh,
but
pervading and that kind of thing. So let's just talk about that, because we're using some strong language here. So you ever walk into a room and feel like there's been an argument there?
oh yeah,
Mhm.
That's pervading.
yeah.
That's perceiving. You walk into the room. In other words, you
just feel
fill
it.
the room up.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in and fill out some portion of the room. You as a being or as a person, right? And you perceive or you feel without any communication at all. There's just something about this. How about this? You ever walk into or have to make a decision like you're going to buy something and you're like, I just don't. I got a funny feeling about it. I shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's perceiving.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't have it and it doesn't work out, you should have perceived.
Right.
In fact, they did a study on people that two groups in purchasing cars, brand new cars. They gave one group tons of information, all the information. They gave them tons of time to go over the information to make a good purchase, a good
Those are the lesser of the two buyers.
And then they gave another group 5 minutes to make a snap decision. The group that had to make the snap decision made a better decision than the group that had all the information all the time.
Right.
Or
So
picking,
awareness.
Picking a better car.
Just
No, just
picking a better
buying-
car.
Just
Yeah.
buying a car.
But I mean, what's better about it? The more reliable car? I mean, no, seriously.
They were happier.
They said that it was a better value.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally get that because
I
I
didn't know
think
about- you've seen that.
thinking is totally overrated. Usually, people that are thinker brains are usually introverted to some point or another.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I have found. They're usually the ones that can't get out of their own way, analysis of paralysis or paralysis of analysis, whichever way, that kind of stuff.
And I think that this pulls into the whole awareness of factor. And I think that sometimes people may not understand even what we mean by awareness.
Right.
And it's almost like being tuned in and turned on and like just very aware from an intuitive perspective.
Right.
I'm trying to think of maybe a better way to describe that so that when you hit that situation, I know some people call it spontaneous correct action. You can Google that.
Yep.
Spontaneous correct action. And it's a result of being tuned in, turned on, and like just like,
Right.
yeah, just intuitive.
Exactly. All right, good. So the last two we're not going to cover as much as the first two because the first two I think is what holds a lot of people back in real estate investing. So we're talking about, I feel like the course that you will take or the path that you'll follow when first learning how to do anything, not just real estate, is first it's ignorance, then you go through an awareness process, and then implementation, which speaks for itself. That just means getting into action, okay? And then there's delegation, which once you start doing things, there's certain things you won't like to do, and you'll just want to get them off your plate. Now, I have something very, very profound to say. I haven't really sorted it out in my head, so I'm going to do it while I'm talking to you guys, and then we're going to go on to deal structuring because I want to talk about a couple deals that we can, or at least one deal that we can structure. Okay. So I was thinking the other day about be do have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you're familiar with? I think everybody's familiar with it, right?
Ready, fire, aim.
Be do have. Yeah, it's kind of like that, right? So usually what happens is most philosophers, if you read about it, because a lot of philosophers have written about it, is you have to want to have something and then work it backwards, and then you do and then be. But it was kind of funny because what I was thinking about was how many people will be something and want to have something and skip do. Or how many will do something and not know what they want to have. Or how many people will have the doingness, the doing part down and are not being.
There's no blueprint.
It's
There's no
like if you
guidance.
don't do all three of them together, you end up with these things we're talking about: ignorance, awareness, implementation, and decision are the symptoms of be do have.
It's like a three-legged stool. If you don't have each element,
Right.
it's going to fall on
Right.
you.
Otherwise, it sounds like you have life as an accident.
Right.
Just an accident. I mean, I see people.
Yeah.
What do you,
All the time.
They go through the day after day, and
They think life happens to them rather than they make life.
Yeah.
if you put them in a boat, they would just sit there instead of row. We're rowers here. We're rowers.
It's funny you say that, Naomi, because that's what I like to say. It's either you're living life or life is living you.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Mm-hmm.
right? So the interesting thing is I was thinking about ignorance and awareness and implementation and decision, and it's kind of like somehow in a weird way the be-do have scale, right? It's kind of I haven't quite worked it out in my head, but they seem to be together, because the ones that stick, and actually, so they'll come to the meetup and they'll get an idea of what it's like, and they'll make a decision that I want to be an investor. And then they'll listen to what I have to say, and they'll like do what I show them, and then eventually have what they want. Those are the ones that seem to do best.
They're willing to do it.
Right.
I mean, I see the look on their face. We've had seminars and workshops where we get phone numbers and prospective sellers of houses, and some of them won't call the number and talk.
Right.
They won't do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not willing to do the actions.
Right.
It's over.
For Christ's sakes, I have a coaching client that and it's not because of the coaching client. She actually bought the how to, and I have many stories like this. This is not the only one, but it's the one that stands out on my head because of what just happened. So she bought the how to buy a real estate without a loan course, right? She took it on the beta launch, and she got it for the discount price, right? And she like gobbled it up. I mean, she was like for a couple days like on the phone with me, because she's a coach. She became a coaching client too, and so I was like pretty surprised. I mean, she was on the phone and she's banging away, and she's like da 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 da, and I didn't have to give her much assistance at all. I mean, she was pretty much, she just got what she needed from the material. She was just kind of like doubting herself a little bit. Well, like 10 days, she bought a $240,000 house for $105,000. And then was worried about where to find money, and 3 days later found out that she had more money she knew what to do with. It pushed her into doing more, and now it's like another 10 days later, 12 days later, and Monday night on the coaching call, I don't know if you listened to it or not.
Yeah, I heard it. It's on the way in.
We were negotiating a deal, and she announced yesterday in our WhatsApp, because the coaching guys are all in a WhatsApp group, and we all talk to one another, that she closed on it.
Yeah.
She closed on her second deal. We talked about she had a $145,000 house, and I just kind of coached her. We on the coaching call coached her. Give 3 offers, and she's like, she was commenting on the call that when the lady was walking through the house, she's saying that she just sold the house for her brother. Her brother died, or sister, or something like that died. What was it? Was it a brother or a sister?
I thought it was like
matter.
the father, actually, or the brother.
Yeah, somebody died.
Somebody, yeah.
I think it was a brother that died and left her a house, right? And now somebody else died and left her another house.
Right. But the first house they'd sold for like 70.
She was like, we sold it for $70,000, and there's no way I would sell this house for $70,000, and da 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 da. So my student was like, yeah. So she's like changing her numbers, thinking that the person's not going to take that number. So I'm like, you can't do that. You have to look, don't listen. You have to look, don't listen. That's the observation point that I'm talking about. You have to look, don't listen. The house is the house is the house. Don't let the story influence the house. We did a show not too long ago. I forgot what episode. And it didn't have a lot of downloads, because I think it was people didn't understand it, but making the skeleton dance. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
Where we talked about how people have skeletons in their closet, right? And they try to hide them. And what I was saying is don't try to hide them. Get them out and use
Make them dance, yeah.
Make
They're
them
valuable.
dance, right? I don't know what show number it was here. Let me see here.
If you have, I worked with a salesperson, and where a client may resist something, may have a problem with something. Now, most people might just try to skirt around that.
But no, that's where you need to look
this guy
at.
would go like, "What happened?"
Right.
The guy would just flinch and say, "What happened?" And he wouldn't just like, "Oh, what was that? What happened?"
It's like that's your
Do
clue.
you have a problem?
You need
Yeah.
to,
Well, tell me what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And he would handle it. He would
Right.
solve it. He would do something with it. At least acknowledge it instead of avoid it.
it's a thing
You
of
can't.
like Bill has used the term before, finding the ruin.
Yeah.
And that ties into what we were saying earlier, the awareness that's going to help you get that deal is being aware and, watching when people are finding, flinching, doing the flinch.
Yeah. People
to,
say something,
what's
do
going
something.
on.
What does it mean? If you don't know, ask them. Talk
Right.
about it.
Right.
If you can just see past it, read their mind, great. Otherwise, ask. But, check it down, track it down.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that she went in, she made the offer, she did exactly, she listened, which she's very good at. She listened to what I said to her. It's like, take those ideas out of your head. And she, when I talked to her yesterday, she texted me. I don't have my phone with me, but she texted me, and she said their text was, "Get the cigar out. We need to talk." And it was like da 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 or something like that. She put a bunch of letters in there like da 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 da. Right?
Which offer did they to do?
So she offered them 3 offers. There was a cash offer, and then wait 12 months, and then wait 5 years.
Yep.
And I think it was like 80 grand and 90 something and
then one was
110
like
or something.
118. That was the one that was the 5 years was 118.
Yeah, something like that.
But
yeah.
she went over and I thought she did it beautifully, where she sat down and she educated the lady on, okay, what's best for you?
Right.
Like, here's how it would be working with a real estate agent. Here's how it would be, working with me. Here's
Right.
how,
She did a really good job.
Yeah.
And she took the lowest offer. She's like, and when I talked to my student yesterday, she's like, I can't believe she took that offer. Oh my God. And my point is that you cannot think for the seller. Your job is to give the offers, do what's right, and let them make the decision.
Yeah.
And they can change their mind.
Right.
They can say no, and then they can be yes later when they
Right.
when they look at all the facts. They'll say no at the beginning before they have all the data.
Right.
But as she
Go over
slept on it,
everything.
That's right. She's
lady,
like, I just want to get rid of
she's
it.
like,
If I take less now, it's done with, and I
Right.
walk away. If I
Right.
get more, I'm gonna have to hang around, wait. Nah.
Right. Exactly.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's not even it's like a partial ugly house.
I think she said it just needs some lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's like, even the 20 grand we use for renovations, there's no way we'll spend that. Blah, 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 blah. She was really excited.
That's so awesome.
That they wrote a contract.
Really happy for
So
her.
there's somebody that's part of the program, right?
Yeah.
And within 30 days, bought 2 houses. So what do you think I had to coach her on last night? Obviously, her successful action is being on the phone, making phone calls, and finding houses. Do not get off the telephone because you got 2 deals. I didn't tell her this, but I'm like, I'll buy them. She's in my state. I'll go over and buy them.
Yeah, she's next town over for me. Tell her if she needs any help, let me know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so let's do a deal. We're at about 40 minutes into the show. Let's do a deal. Yeah?
Yep.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so next Wednesday night, probably most people that are listening to this recording will be too soon, but on May 16th, 2018, I am going to do a very unusual presentation at my live meetup.
Really?
I've never done, well, I've done this sort of, but not to this extent. So the name of the presentation is going to be buying over-leveraged property and making huge profits. I think I'm actually going to do a webinar on it, but I'm gonna work next at the meetup. I'm gonna do it there first to see what kind of response I get. The reason why I'm a little reluctant is because this, and at the onset, this looks like something I've talked about before, a deal structure that I've used, but there's some nuances to the deal that I've not talked about before, and I've kind of had some new kind of perspective on it from working with a coaching client and actually explaining the deal to somebody, to somebody that's completely has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
I was just explaining it. I did something kind of odd, actually, which is usual for me. Yeah.
No.
I actually have been going to a meetup group for a couple of years, and I go every Wednesday morning. You know that. I was part of a couple BNI groups, and I kind of backed it down because of my schedule. But this one group I like. It's up in Rocky Hill, and we have an administration meeting the beginning of every month. And I asked the president if I could change my status, because I was there as a social media guy and marketing guy, which is a whole nother company that I was promoting when I was part of that group. And I was doing more of that. Emma was actually doing it, not me. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want to be part of this group. I don't want to get up, because I got to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's a half-hour, 40-minute ride from here, right? Half-hour ride. Anyways, long story short, I decided to change my status from the social media guy to the house flipper. And they all opened, because that's where I give all the business from. I mean, I'm one of the largest guys in the group, like receiving and giving, or mostly giving business. Yeah. Because it's from the houses, right? There's a lot of contractors and plumbers, and which, by the way, if you're looking for that type of stuff, the best thing in the world is get out there, get on meetup.com or BNI, do BNI, BN like in Nancy, I, which is Business Networking International, I think is what it is. And just get out there and network. Because I know that a couple times we needed contractors and stuff, and I just floated around in a few BNI groups, and
found
voila, we got somebody.
Nice.
I know that you run Craigslist ads, right? To find the contractors.
A lot of different. I'm kind of shying away from Craigslist a bit, but
yeah. Good. So, anyways, the reason why I'm giving you this long story is because now I have this, it's like I got this new born again type of
freshness.
This group is new. I can talk to them about what I really want to talk about. So it's kind of provoked some interesting conversations, because they're like, it's a plumber, and he's like, what do you do? What does it mean to flip a house? It's like they're like really, really raw.
I mean, they probably know the Hollywood version, but to actually know somebody.
Some of them I don't even know they know that. To be honest with you. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of talking about this, but just because
the last thing a plumber wants to do is watch a show about plumbing.
Yeah. Right.
It's not about plumbing. It's about flipping a house.
Yeah,
not them.
In any event, so it's just kind of giving me some reincarnation here, I guess you would say, about what we do, and just a way to explain it. Because here I am, I got a 1 minute, or it's supposed to be 30 seconds, but 1 minute speech every Wednesday morning about what I do. And now it's like, how do I tell people what I do?
30 seconds.
I mean, I can't fart for 30 seconds. I don't know how the hell I'm going to tell somebody what I do in 30 seconds. I mean, and so it's like, I'm really struggling with it, because it's like, how do I mean, anybody that knows me knows that I don't do, it takes me 90 minutes in a meetup, and I barely touch the surface of what we do. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. Isn't that true? I mean, we
here we are on podcast number 100, and we still haven't scratched everything that.
Well, we're not.
And not close.
Oh, 96. Now we have a big birthday coming now. Let's not discredit 100 now, Naomi. Let's go a little easy with this. Okay, don't give that offer up too quick. Okay.
I'm already there.
You ready? I can't wait to hear the music.
I know.
Peter's going to give us
the walls are going to be melting.
He's going to give us, that's what he said. He's going to give us our 100th birthday gift. What do you think, Em? Wake up, Em, over there. Come on, make a comment. Get the mic in front of you. Tell Peter, I can't wait, Peter. Watch this.
Makes me wonder what kind of music Emma listens
priceless.
to.
I wish people could see this.
What do you listen to, Emma?
Listening to you, actually.
What kind of
Maybe
music
that
do you listen?
explains the look on the face.
No, I have a lot of music students of all ages, and I have an idea what people listen to, and most don't listen to new music at all. They just can't stand it. But some people do.
Yeah. Just on the radio. It's the only time I listen to Top 40.
I'll tell you what she listens to. She listens to gamers' music, whatever music they play while they're playing their video games. That's what she listens to.
Would you believe I've taught that to students? Can you show them how to play Mario Brothers? I can play Mario Brothers,
Yeah, he's talking about Twitch streamers. I watch a lot of Twitch streamers. Yeah. Pete's talking about video game scores, which I also listen to those as well.
Video game scores.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Anime.
A niche within a niche. See? It's everywhere, Peter.
So
all right, let's do the deal.
Deal structure.
Let's do the deal. So you have a property, and this is, you guys are going to make me the offer. I'm the seller, and you guys are going to make me the offer. Okay?
Okay.
Here we go. So I have a house, and it's worth $160,000. and this is not some willy-nilly type of thing. I actually had a couple of realtors give me comparables, and I didn't like their numbers, so I actually paid the $400 for an appraisal.
Wow.
So I know it's worth $160.
Mm-hmm.
I owe $180.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
And my monthly mortgage payment is $1,310.
Well, that's doable.
So what do you do? I mean, what would most people do with that deal?
Walk
They
away.
would, yeah.
They see no equity and they walk away.
Yeah.
Okay, what would a realtor do?
Walk away because where's he going to get his commission unless the guy's willing to take it out of his
Right.
pocket?
Or do a short sale.
Or do a
Short
short
sale.
sale.
Yeah.
So I wrote in an email this morning
Yeah.
that's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
That's what the Bucky says, to Bucky Jones. That's
Bull.
bullshit. Right?
All together now.
That's
Bullshit.
bullshit. Okay? So why do I say that?
Number one, if the short sale even goes through, you're at the bank's mercy. Number two, it wrecks your credit. Number three, that discount that the bank so generously gives you, if they agree to do it, then you usually end up having to pay taxes on it. I'm not an accountant, so don't take my word on it, but
That does
it could,
happen, yeah.
it could mess with you later on. So your credit, taxes, and then again, a great big if it even goes through.
Good. Now ask me why I think it's bullshit.
Why do you think it's bullshit?
Because false data.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it's not necessarily
well,
false. It's maybe
yeah,
like
no,
not
it's
the
false
best data.
No, it's not. It's false data. Not what you said. It's false data. People think that they're going to do a short sale because of false data.
Right.
Want to know what the false data is? They think the bank needs the money. They have to sell this house. They need the money.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't.
Oh, yeah. I know that. That's a whole nother show right there.
I can't tell you how many times, and this is another one of those things I've been observing recently, and it's only because I get so many deals that come across my desk over the course of a week,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with my students and with you guys and, you know, and my own deals, right? So I notice there has been a plethora, a lot of deals that are being sold from banks that are being held for 3, 4, 5. I've got one deal. I went to an auction on Saturday. This house is 3 doors up from where I used to live and across the street from my father-in-law's house, my ex-father-in-law's house. And I know this for a fact because I've seen it. This house has been vacant for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a reverse mortgage, bank-owned property.
Yep.
They just foreclosed last Saturday. They had a foreclosure sale. The bank owed the owed amount of money was $130,000, and the bank opened the auction at $192,000, and literally the house
$192.
and the house is a teardown.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just give you
It's
a
been
quick
vacant for
quick
10 years.
10 years. There's a
Can you
quick
imagine?
synopsis of this house. There are stories from the neighbor next door, who's a relative, that have been in the house to chase the deer out of the house.
I can't
And
believe they even
raccoons.
bothered. Wow.
So does the bank need the money?
No, but the price the bank is asking is because of fees, late fees, and penalties to pile up way beyond what the property's worth.
Right.
The thing is after 3 missed payments, the bank files a claim to the insurance company. They get their money. Not to mention when they were working with the investors. I mean, you know, the Big Short, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real thing. So they made money off of that house. More money than you can possibly imagine. In the derivatives market and the just on and
Those
on.
are all secondary markets.
Yeah. They don't.
Because the way that they really made their money was that, you know, so the government...
It was the paper, passing the paper.
Yeah, so the government says the government can't print money. This,
Mhm.
we're going to spend way too much time on it. The government can't print money,
Mm-hmm.
so they have an institution called the Federal Reserve,
Yeah.
right? The Federal Reserve writes the money.
Yep.
Prints the money,
Mm-hmm.
and they write the government a note.
And how do they get it into the...
How do they
Yeah.
circulate it?
Yeah.
And the way they circulate it is through mortgages. So
Mhm.
you get a $100,000 mortgage, the bank that gives you the mortgage gets $1 million back.
Mm-hmm.
So they've already made 10 times the amount of money.
They've made so much money off of that house.
Before they even
It's like a
purchase
pain.
it.
It's just a pain.
Oh,
The other thing too is a lot of banks cannot prove ownership, actual ownership.
Yeah, that's lately, yeah.
Right.
Oh, because of the
I'm
paperwork.
not even.
Oh.
I told one person this thing, and then the
You have deer in your house.
I told one potential client, and anyhow, at first they were disbelieving, but when they spoke with their attorney, and their attorney said, "How did she know that?"
Right.
And she he said, "I know that, but how did she know that?"
Right.
It's a very true thing.
So what's my offer? What are you guys going to do?
Mm.
So the house is worth $160
Mm-hmm.
and I owe $180.
So, you want me to say?
Sure, I want
All
an
right.
offer.
Okay. So, the term
Yeah.
is going to be a terms purchase.
Yeah.
But stretch that out for a long time. Usually we might do like 2 years or 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Stretch it way out to give it enough time to pay down the principal, and hopefully for the equity to, for the value of the house to improve,
To catch up.
So a lot of people won't think of that, just stretch it out. It's thinking outside of the box.
Right.
But stretch that term way out.
Right.
Well, what people do is hang on to the house and rent it and rent it and rent it and rent it to stretch it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same idea, except we're doing a lease option, slot deal lease
Right.
option, and we're hanging on to it and waiting and waiting and waiting. Usually we
Right.
don't wait that long on those kind of deals, but if you can get some cash flow from it and you
Exactly.
can wait long enough, then you get your equity at the other end.
And it protects the homeowner better with a lease purchase, because as a renter, the liabilities are much higher legally.
Now, a question I would have on that is usually when we put somebody in, they need their credit improved so they can get the loan. And it usually takes a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to get that would wait that term? Or are you just going to rent it out?
They would need to know that ahead of time, that this is the term.
Yeah.
Now, if they
I know
ended up
sometimes
with
people do
if they
that.
ended up with a big pile of cash,
Mm-hmm.
and they're understanding that this is a thing. It's like rent-to-own furniture is so overpriced.
Yeah.
So perhaps similarly. So for
Yeah,
them,
I'm taking a stop and buying that.
So if they want to cash out early on this home, like
Mhm.
here's that home, it's $180,000.
Mm-hmm.
They can, the bank will only approve a mortgage of say $160,000.
Mm-hmm.
That additional $20,000, they're just going to have to know that they'd have to come up with that
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time.
But are there people that will wait that long?
So imagine this. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
So you lose a home to foreclosure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
You're married. You got children. Okay. You're working hard, trying to make ends meet for your family, right? You're now living in an apartment that's a third of the size of your house, or you're living with mom and dad, yours or hers, and you're in an uncomfortable situation. Every day, you're stressed when you come home. You're wondering where your kids are going to school, or what's happening where they go to school, I should more say. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're wondering what kind of lifestyle they're living because of your mistake, because you did something to go through this foreclosure.
It might not have even been them.
Oh, he was there.
No.
You have no stress. I'm sorry, you have plenty of stress, right? And you have no way to get out.
Mm.
And it's constantly on your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I come along and say, buy my house, no bank qualifying. And then you sit down with me and say, well, here's how it works. You just need to come up with this amount of money, say $3,000 or $5,000, whatever the number is. And I will give you 10 years to fix your problem. What do you think is going to happen?
Heck yeah.
Well, some
10
people,
years
Heck.
is an eternity for that person.
Hmm?
10 years is an eternity for that
but
person.
in a good way or bad way.
Good way.
In a good way.
Yeah, 'cause some people wouldn't want to wait that long, but this guy with a foreclosure and his credit score that bad.
Just
So,
an
like
example.
I said, they would just
Yeah.
have to know if you want to, cash us out earlier, if something changes in your life, then,
Right.
and what's the worst thing? He says, okay, I don't want to do this. After all, I'm going to move out. Then you just find somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is that house is in a better situation than it was, because while he was there, the principal was getting paid down.
Right.
Hopefully the value went up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do for the seller is we're going to, like Naomi's saying, is we're going to make payments, let the debt come down, and let the equity catch up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give everybody an opportunity. So there's a whole lot more to this deal that I want to talk about, which I'm going to talk about next week. And I just wanted to make sure that you had an example, the listeners had an example of how valuable and underrated this business is. And I'm going to drop the bombshell right now, okay? 24% of this country is over-leveraged.
that's
24% of the good old USA is
wow.
over-leveraged.
That's hard to imagine.
Well, it's not hard to imagine.
After the market crash.
After the 2008, I mean, I know it's 10 years later, but
Yeah.
we're still, I mean, those deals have not flushed out. They're
Yeah.
still around. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Not everybody lost their house. They just kind of sucked it up.
Right.
Well, we talk to people all the time, and I don't run into that many people over
Mhm.
leveraged. Maybe they're just sitting in the house.
Yeah. They're
Maybe they
just-
don't know they can do anything. They're just stuck there.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't. They don't think they can do
Wow.
anything.
Which, by the way, that's one of the reasons why we call for sale by owners, is because
Mhm.
the three things that we know a for sale by owner wants is they want the most amount of money. They don't always need their cash. And a lot of times they're accidental landlords,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we are working on, or I haven't been the last couple of weeks, but calling rental people and ask them if they'd be willing to sell with a purchase, sell with an option to buy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about this at the live meetup, 128 Center Street in Wallingford, Connecticut, on May 16th. I'm going to do a whole thing on it and how to do it, and I'm going to do some of the math, and I'm going to show you how to find these deals and all kinds of stuff. So all I'm saying is that you don't have to buy an ugly house. This house is not an ugly house. This is a pretty house in a pretty neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And you're finding the situation inside the house when you're selling, when your seller's looking to get rid of it. Like, if we drove down the road, do we know how much somebody owes on their house?
Mm-hmm.
No.
And with that pretty house, you're able to turn around and get a solution very quickly.
Right.
And that's why it's the thing of making money within days, because you can make an agreement with them, find the end buyer,
Right.
and all of that can happen very quickly. Not months and months like a fix and flip,
That's right.
but very quickly.
Yeah, it could be done within days sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Good. So then, thanks for bringing that up, because I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah.
So let's just summarize, and then I'm going to give you a few links, and then we're out of here. So show number 96. How bad a beating are you willing to take to make a deal? Is it possible to get a check in days and not in years? Do you sometimes feel you are on the outside looking in when it comes to knowing how to convert houses into fast, reliable cash? Best part is, you can decide whether you choose the easy way or the hard way, and realize this: if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. That's from Ron LeGrand again.
Mm-hmm.
In this podcast, we will get you over the hump, then do some actual deal structuring, and give you a deal example of how quick you can make a profit. So, just for curiosity, the deal that we just did,
Right.
the profit is in you taking a fee. When you sell the house, you'll sell it for $185, take a $5,000 deposit, and you'll allow the person to go 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the exchange of them paying the $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a house that you can find and buy and flip within 30 or 45 days.
And then, especially if you're renting it for $1,500, the mortgage payment is $1,350 on top of the the $5,000 deposit, now you've got positive cash flow every month.
I wouldn't do that, but
Right. Some people
could
could
do that, yes.
You know.
But I'm going to talk about that in the
Right.
meetup, the reason why I wouldn't do that.
Right.
There's a very specific reason why that deal works very good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about that in the meetup. I also have an announcement. If you are watching us on Facebook, I'm going to hold up. We actually have the new Getting Started
Oh, the actual
Nice.
workbook and checklist. So we did a show here in the private group and had it transcribed. So this will be, it's the sales letters done because it was meant as a mail order course because I wanted to, the people that come to the meetup, I wanted to mail them a sales letter after they've been at the meetup. But I realized I wasn't going to put it online or do anything like that. It's not an online course. But I realized for people to order it, they have to go online to do it. So I've written the sales letter. I've proofread it. Everything's ready to go. I need to give it to Emma, and Emma needs to put a page up, the order page up, which I'm assuming by this time next week will be done. I am going to offer it to the guys on the podcast. Mostly it was written, the thing was done for people at the meetup. But the point that I want to make here is that we have a transcript. I think the recording was 40 minutes, and we transcribed it. What you will get is the transcript. You'll get it in printed form. You'll get the transcript. Then we send you a little thumb drive, and on the thumb drive has the transcript. It has an audio file, and it has a video file. So it doesn't matter how you listen to information, whether it's you read, you listen to audio, or you do video, or do all three. This is designed to get somebody jump started and going fairly quick. Okay. And this is exactly what these students that I'm talking about are using. And at the very end of it, Jesse helped me make a checklist. So there's an actual checklist at the end of it. So you can actually go through, listen to the materials that we did, and then actually check the list off and actually buy a house. Okay. Now it is not, that doesn't replace the course that we have, which is how to buy real estate without a loan. It's actually going to be, as of once we get the page up and running, as of next week, it's going to be a bonus. So when you buy the no loan course, it'll be in there. So as of next week, once we get it promoted, it'll be part of the how to make money with no loan. How to buy real estate without a loan. So anyways, next week we will have that available. So if you are interested, you can email me at bill@flippinghousesforrookies.com. Oh, I don't have my own email yet? Oh, info. Oh, yeah, info. Emma's saying she's not sure if Bill works. So info@flippinghousesforrookies.com. If you have any questions about this podcast, please send some emails there. I answer all the support tickets myself. So it's info@flippinghousesforrookies.com. You can also just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. All the podcasts are there. We have our new website up. You should go check it out. All the podcasts are there. The courses are there. All that kind of stuff, including a link to actually give us a review on iTunes and some of the other platforms. We've changed our marketing for the podcast, so we are doing some stuff in-house and would love to have you review the show and tell us what's going on.
If you're not sure how to leave an iTunes review, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/iTunes review, and there's a step-by-step guide.
Perfect.
Nice.
There you go. Okay. With that said, we're right on time. 1 hour and 13 minutes. 13 minutes over. And we're over and out till next week.
Over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.